being cut with that gray dirt issue. The third thing revolves around community involvement. You can spend a lot of time talking more or less about generic issues related to community involvement documents and whatnot. But I think the most productive discussion would be, is there a perceived problem in the community with the type of outreach that EPA and also MDEQ, because they're involved, is conducting in Butte? Are they missing the mark somewhere? Is there a problem that ought to be corrected? Some of the discussion, for example, about the gray dirt issue revolved around the negotiations for the CD being secret or being confidential. That precluded the public. But what I'm saying is I think the focus could very productively be not on community involvement in general. Is there a problem? And what is that problem? And then what needs to be done to address it? So one, what assurances does the public have that the current action levels in Butte protect human health and the environment in Butte, particularly that of children? The second one is the gray dirt issue. What's going on? Does the public need to be concerned? And then the third thing is there a problem with community involvement? What is it? What can be done to fix it?
Thank you, Dr. Ray. 3 minutes on the dot. Do you do this as a profession? All right. All right. Yes.
Well, I'm not going to take 3 minutes, but I'm wondering why the agenda radically changed from what we were sent out. We were sent out a different agenda than the one we're talking about right now. That agenda involved us hearing from a series of people. Now, I was worried there might be too much of that and not enough to talk, but now we've shifted away totally from hearing from the parties that were listed on that agenda. For example, I want to hear what's going on from ARCO. They were on the agenda. The Restore Creek project was on there. JP spoke, he was on there, but there were a whole bunch of entities that were, CTEC was to report, so on. So all these things were listed, which actually made me want to come here and listen and hear what people had to say, because frankly, we've spent 2 decades not knowing what's going on. And so now when we have a chance to hear what's going on, the agenda's changed and we get a fancy new agenda. I'm all for plenty of community talk, but why the change without notice? And why are we not hearing from the people you said we were going to hear from?
Okay, and that's a good point. I mean, we did have some adjustments as we were trying to work through the agenda, and we want to be respectful of everybody's time of 2 hours. If we kept everybody on the agenda, this could have easily been a 4-hour meeting. And we did discuss that. You know, maybe next month or the month after, whatever we get from the feedback from the community on the frequency of these meetings. Chris, did you have to say too?
You can't see this, but I think Casey popped on too, so I didn't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I did, and was that Evan, and was that Evan McGregor who made those comments? I'm trying to see from.
Evan Barrett.
It was Evan Barrett. I meant. So Evan and thanks for your comments, and I'm just asking if people could identify themselves when they start speaking. So for those of us who are online and can't see that clearly, that would be great. And Evan, I didn't know an agenda went out earlier, so you can blame it on me. I was clear on sort of how I wanted things to go, and I didn't know something went out earlier. So it was just really important for me to make sure we were doing a lot of listening in this meeting. I have attended a couple of these public meetings now, and sometimes I feel like it's a lot of report out, and I wanted a lot more listening.
All right, thank you, Casey. Okay. We'll have an opportunity for everyone to present in another meeting, but yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fritz Daly.
Fritz Daly.
Thanks, Fritz.
My pleasure. Casey, nice to see you over here in the agenda at the meeting with you. But anyhow, I just want to make a couple comments. I don't know if it's appropriate to do it here, but I'm going to do it here anyhow, I guess. And first of all, I got this message from Jim Fisher couple weeks ago that you're gonna have a meeting tonight, or a couple weeks ago, and asked if I'd attend, and the first thought that came to my mind is, you know, what else could I say? What else could anyone in Montana say and articulate to the EPA and to the state of Montana as to what hasn't already been said before? I mean, we've been through this so many times. I've been working on this actually since 1982. And believe it or not, just to give you an idea how long that's been since I've been working on this thing. And we still don't have a cleanup, okay? So keep that. Yeah, but anyhow, I've been through that. I've been through 7 governors. I've been to 100 meetings. I probably just presented 1,000 emails and letters and information on what needs to be done and what should be done. I've been involved in 3 different lawsuits. I'll try to be as quick as I can, but it's pretty hard sometimes for 3 minutes. But the reality is, every single person in this room tonight, every single person who has an interest in this and has been involved knows what needs to be done to clean Silver Bow Creek. It's not a secret anymore. Everyone knows. Using science that was prepared by the Montana Bureau of Mines Natural Resource Damage Program. It's been 5 years since the agreement in principle was signed. 5 years. It's been 2 years since the CD was signed. And we haven't seen one shovel full of dirt move except for the paratailings with the natural resource damage folks did. Again, I'll try to, I just have, I guess, one other thought here. But anyhow, for me, it's unbelievable how anyone in this community or anyone with the EPA or the state could not want to see Butte Silver Bow, our community, have a creek flowing through the community. If you have children who live in this community, if you live in this community, you have to want to see that. I can't imagine that we're gonna use dirty fill at the Diggings East and Northside Tailings. I can't even imagine that that's gonna happen. Okay, can't even imagine that's gonna happen. I can't even, the thoughts beyond my comprehension, how you could have a lead level in Butte of 1,200 parts per million, but in Anaconda, Montana, which is right next to us, has a level of 600, and 600 in the whole United States. And we all know what JP just said, there's no accepted level. There is no accepted level. So I guess what I need to say to you here tonight is 3 final things, and then I'll just quit talking about it. But anyhow, there's 3 things I want to say. The decisions that are made today at the Berkeley Pit, Silver Bow Creek, Montana Falls, they're forever decisions. They're forever decisions. And they have forever consequences. And we need to do it right. We haven't done it right so far, but we need to do it right. And the only thing I can say, the only thing worse than bad men doing evil is for good men knowing that they're committing the evil and the good men don't do anything about it. That's just wrong. And I'll just close by saying, no matter how far you go down the wrong road, which we've been going, it's never too late to turn around. Butte deserves better. We deserve a clean creek going through this community, like we always had for 100,000 years. We deserve that as a community. Nothing less should ever be accepted. Nothing. I've been cut off before by the EPA making comments. That's okay. I come here tonight because I wanted to say something. I've been accused of not going to meetings. I've had some personal issues that I've dealt with, but I'm here, and I don't know if I'll come again, but because we've been dealing with it for 40 years. 40 years. Come on, guys. Get the creek clean. Get the creek clean. Get the water flowing. Get the work at the Berkeley done. Get it done. Get the lead levels changed. They need to be changed. Get them changed. Thanks for letting me speak, Casey. I appreciate you being here and listening to us, and thanks for visiting with me when you came the last time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Fritz. All right, do we have any questions online, Chris?
We did have a comment, for those that can't hear from Dave Hutchins, saying, I appreciate the efforts to include public input and to listen, but many of the questions and comments the public has will be informed by the updates on the agenda. And for those that are online, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to raise your hand, or if you're on the phone, just speak up. I don't see anything online coming in.
Okay, yes,
So I'm Beverly Hartline. I happen to live in the West Side Soils Operable Unit, about which we know comparatively little compared to what we know about the EPSOU. I think it's very important to learn about the West Side Soils Operable Unit and have that information shared. And I also want to reinforce very strongly Dr. Ray's comments. You're not timing me.
I'm sorry.
I want to really reinforce Dr. Ray's comments about how important those action levels are. I believe that the community of Butte is not well served by these action levels, which are higher than they are anywhere else in the country and higher by a lot. And I'd like to see that defended more strongly, scientifically, if they really are justified. I actually doubt it. And thank you for listening, Casey, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
But I probably took 1 minute.
Yeah, you probably did take 1 minute. All right. Do we have any other questions in the back? Nick?
Rick Rengsock, I have a question. The kid talked about 12 standing committees that take input. Who goes to those committee meetings and who's notified about them?
I can't answer that. Anyone in here?
Nikki, do you wanna very briefly walk through a couple of those? Do you wanna go back to that slide so you
Yep, I
can
sure
see that?
can.
Hey, Mick. So it's the stakeholders, right? Including the community. And the community is represented by CTEC's technical advisor. So it's Atlantic Richfield, Butte Silverbow, DEQ, NRDP, EPA, and CTEC technical advisor. And then everybody's contractors. So, you know, you can have technical meetings, stakeholder technical meetings upwards of, 30, 40 people. So that's who currently is.
This is Joe Griffin, and I'm a board member of CTEC, and I'd like to add to that because the medical monitoring working group includes myself, Bill McGregor, Seth Cornell, several members of the public. I'm also go to the residential metals abatement meetings, there's scrums. So it is open to a fairly broad amount of people, but I can't speak to all of those.
My 2 cents worth is I don't think CTEC represents the community, and the community has no general representation. I think these scientific meetings are leaving 95% of the community completely out of the picture with no idea what's going on. The best example of that is gray dirt. And damn it, there is no gray dirt. It's either clean or it's dirty. And to take gray dirt that still is polluted to cover an area that's been cleaned up is one of the most asinine things I ever heard in my life. And CTEC wrote a letter supporting it. They're not representing me.
Thank you, Rick. Cindy?
I'm Cindy Perdue Dolan. I work for Senator Daines, and I just wanted to ask Nakia, on that previous slide, you had all the number of meetings. The EPA HUD quarterly meetings, have you guys been talking about lead levels? Because a lead level for HUD is way less than 1,200 parts per million. Has that come up in these quarterly meeting discussions? And have you come to any resolution with that, with HUD?
Sure. The conversations with HUD are to coordinate with the multifamily facilities to make sure that they have access to the residential metals abatement program, the multi-pathway program at the 1,200. So no, the 400 that is theirs, and their 400 it's not a removal program. the residential metals abatement program is a removal program, a multi-pathway program that restores lead-based paint. You know, it'll look at an elevated blood lead level, which is triggered by 5 micrograms per deciliter. And so the RMAP is really unique to where it will, if there's an elevated blood lead level, they'll focus on that child and they'll find what the source is and make sure that their blood lead level goes down. So that's kind of the difference between the HUD. So our focus is on multifamily facilities.
And Casey, I see your video came just now, so somebody has something to say.
Yeah, I thought I would just jump in to address this because I'm sure it'll keep coming up on the soil lead levels. EPA is undertaking a review on our soil lead level writ large. So not just for Butte, just every site nationwide. And that review right now is in an interagency review process. I hope that EPA will have a final decision on soil lead levels. If EPA decides to to adjust what it is from now, that would certainly affect Butte. So I'm hoping that we hear more by the end of the summer.
Yeah, go ahead, right back here.
Thank you. My name is Jim Fisher. I serve on the Council of Commissioners for Butte Silver Bowen. Going back to what Nakia and Mick were both saying about all these different entities, being weighing in. Well, there's an old saying, too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the soup. And that's actually what's happened here for many, many years, Nothing's getting done, but everybody's having these meetings just like tonight. And when we leave here, it's probably like the meeting we had 4 or 5 years ago up at the archives that, when Doug Benevito was there, stood up and told us all, everybody's cheering and roaring, we're gonna have this cleaned up in 2024. It's gonna be all done. Well, here we are again. 2023, now the shovelful's been moved. So we're not making any progress in this. And in order to make progress, when you leave a meeting, you gotta get something done. And right now, we have too many entities weighing in on this. And as a council commissioner, I've been on there 10 years, 12 years now. And I'm gonna tell you, I was the first one to vote against the consent decree. I still stand by that. I think we made a mistake. I think we need someone to get involved because my personal opinion, and you can boo me if you want, EPA and ARCO have been in bed for so goddamn long, we're never gonna get things right until they actually wanna help the people. It's a political football, just like everything in this country. When are we gonna quit playing politics with ARCO and BP, DEQ, and the state of Montana? All the money ARCO has given to Butte Silver Bow is tied up in Helena. We can't touch a nickel of it without authority from ARCO, BP, or someone else. And that's just not the way it should work. We're stuck in consequences. Fritz, my buddy Fritz, and Ron Davis, and Nick and them, we're not gonna live to see the end of this. My grandkids might not live, my kids probably won't live to see it. So all I got to say is, too much talk, not enough action. Thank you.
Sure. I come in concerned of an article that I came across.
Chris,
who are you? Oh, my name's Chris Fisk. I guess in the big picture, I'm nobody. I haven't been involved for 40 years. I'm a teacher of 30 years and a father of 2 and a grandfather of 7. This article that says inside the EPA's close relationship with Montana mining companies. This goes all the way back, if you look into it, and I don't have to tell 3/4 of you people sitting here, you know this, that during the Reagan administration, the EPA was watered down, put down, so that they were more industrialized and felt better about the extraction industries, including a gag order on your negotiations for the cleanup of this community, a gag order. That's rule number 1. I've got a couple of more farmer questions. This article alludes to lead levels that are so grossly out of whack, you can't even define it. I want to know what my community is doing. This article named names. I want to know why it wasn't in the newspaper. I'd like to know why it wasn't on the news. We're talking about the health of not only your adults, children. And God forbid, you are poisoning the children of this community. Hell has no fury like Butte citizens. Nakia, you're mentioned in this article. Those that came out with that information, direct questions were asked to TEP. Can we get to their funding? Who do we talk to? Who are the heads of the departments? Can we get this shut down? They're doing it, say it out loud. You're covering it up. And if you're not, it's, oh, I didn't know it. I came here expecting different people today. Denver has shown up. Why, ma'am? Why would Denver show up to a local meeting in Butte, Montana? Their accusations in this article, they belittled the research, and the numbers speak for themselves. Now we're hearing about gray dirt. You're going to use that to replace contaminated dirt? You know how far we've got on our creek? That was a good reminder. Thank you, Fritz. You're wrong. You're right in the fact they haven't moved a shovelful. But we did get together in a big room and draw pictures of what we would like. And it hasn't gotten any further. These are good people. I'll tell you how this is going to play out. If the shit ever hits the fan, you're the lowest on the totem pole. They're going to use you as a scapegoat. They've done it in the past and they're going to do it again. What I would like to know, Chief Executive Gallagher, who is paying for all of this cleanup? We kind of know that. I want to know who they hired, who's making the money, where they're getting their materials, and what citizen level of action is coming about that. This has gone on so long, guys. We're talking nearly 3 generations. It is so confused and cloudy. You just put up 17 different acronyms. How the hell is anybody going to see that? We have to trust people. And when you read in an article that the EPA could be in bed with the likes of ARCO and BP, that's not good. That's wrong. If nobody told you that, if your parents didn't tell you that, that's wrong. You represent the people and the health of our community and our environment. And if you're dropping the ball on it and you're doing it when you're asking, gee, how do you want us to address this? How would you like us to talk about this? What should our response be? You're the EPA. You tell them. And I'd like to know the funding. Example, RMAP. What does that stand for? Anybody? Oh, and the lead program. Who funds it? Who funds it?
Atlantic Richfield.
Thank you very much. CTEC, who funds it?
EPA did.
Under the direction and guise of?
EPA.
Really?
Well, who do you
Joe,
think?
let me ask you this. You sit on the medical committee with 3 others. Joe, what medical education and experience have you had in representing the children of this community, keeping us safe? What medical experience have you had?
Let me answer. I asked Dr. Seth Cornell to, to please participate. He is a medical doctor. I have a lot of experience in environmental monitoring and management and data analysis.
So you're an environmental expert sitting on a medical committee. Let me share something. I'm not a medical expert either, but you know what I did do? Allow, Speaker Chairman. I went to RMAP and had my blood levels checked. And then I went to my regular physician where those blood levels would be checked at a different location. Guess what? You need to look into some things here, JP. Mine aren't bad. They're not great. And heavy metals, one other question. You're worried about lead? Let's use the A word for a while, shall we? Arsenic. We like kicking this down the road. We just heard, oh, next month, another 2 months. What are people going to forget? How much is out there? How much money? Who's been hired to clean this up? Who's getting the pay for it? What jobs did they have prior to getting these nice contracts?
Mr. Bristow, I just want to make sure I captured some of that. You're concerned, you want to make sure we're more clear on exactly where the funding is going, both through CTEC and for all of the RMAP program and the different programs.
Who's making money off the cleanup? Who's monitoring our health? Who is responsible for it? And furthermore, this article, Was there phone calls made to shut this down? Were their heads of departments with their jobs threatened because of the funding that is provided to ARCO, BP, and Montana Resources? Were they put under the gun? Were these people told to shut it down? We've got medical people evaluating what is healthy in this community. Where are they? With Casper the Ghost?
So
One
perhaps,
last
perhaps
concern.
more transparency on what's happening with the medical
Yeah,
monitoring
there
group
is
would
no
be.
transparency.
Okay.
You get to
More
bury
insight
it
on
and
the
baffle it
medical
and
monitoring.
BS. Second of all, last thing I might add, I saw a video clip of a scientist describing hot rock or smelted rock in Anaconda.
Medicine, I saw a doctor today.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, did I miss something?
Mr. Christopher, we're gonna try to keep it to 3 minutes so the other folks can.
That was describing the smelting process in Anaconda as being different than what is in Butte and the different acceptable lead levels. Well, I just heard the experts here, JP, say there is no acceptable lead levels. Okay, as a history teacher, yes, we had smelting in Butte and we had a lot of it. And prior to Anaconda, we did heap roasting. We dug a big hole in the ground, we put fuel in the bottom, we crushed the rock, we threw more fuel on top of it and lit it up. That's why when you drive from here to Gold Creek, it's sagebrush and crapwood.
Thank you.
It's poison.
Thanks, Mr. Chris.
Thank you for your time.
Right. Any other questions?
We did have a hand from Barbara Miller. I saw you put your hand up to take it down. I don't know if you have a question still, but feel free to ask. Okay, I don't see anything else online.
All right, yes.
So, my name's Seth Cornell. I'd just like to echo some concerns that you made about the action levels. Also about what Mr. Fisk said about a lack of any real arsenic data for members of the community. There's really been zero arsenic data for the last 30 years, and that's something that needs to be changed. But what I see as the most urgent public health issue is what Dr. Hartline brought up, and that's the west side soils. The Board of Health asked EPA to come update us on the west side soils. And what we learned from that Board of Health meeting was that over 50% of the wells that have been tested for west side soils exceed at least one drinking water standard, whether that's arsenic or uranium or manganese. But over 50% of the folks they tested, their drinking water exceeds the action levels that EPA has set. And my question is, when is the EPA going to update the community on the west side soils? I did a quick Google search. I looked at the Montana Tech Digital Archives. I could find nothing with regard to the data for west side soils. There's a complete exposure pathway happening right now with these wells. The kids drinking well water exceed standards, and it may not just be limited to the wells that have been tested. This may be a larger phenomenon, and folks aren't going to know to test their wells if they don't know that there are exceedances. So when are we going to hear about the data from the west side soils, specifically the drinking water? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cornell. Any other questions or comments?
Since I have 2 minutes left.
Yes. You can. Well, yeah, they got
You
your
can
stuff,
just
but
leave
you're
the
okay.
rest of the time
You
for
go
another
next.
time. This is something I really don't know about, but I was reading in the Standard about the lead tests on the children. And so they do a lead survey every 5 years. But the most recent one we have any information about is from 2017. That's like 6 years ago. To the best of my knowledge, when you're doing blood level tests from samples you took in 2017, it doesn't take 6 years to get the data back. And I don't think it even takes 6 years to analyze them and turn them into a report. So why aren't we getting data for 2022 already. I mean, there's plenty of time to have that, or what, you know, whatever years they're actually taking. I can't figure it out. I've only been here for 10 years. So, but 2017 is not the latest lead data.
Okay, we got another question.
Hold on, actually, we have Barbara Miller who's on the line.
Okay, Barbara Miller. Go ahead and unmute.
Hopefully, Barbara, you can hear us and we can hear you. We can't hear you right now. All right, when we come back.
Yeah. Come back.
Well, good evening, and thanks for coming here, I appreciate you here. I'm Ron Davis, I own radio stations here in Butte, and I talk to the public on a regular basis about the cleanup of Butte. I was very involved in the cleanup of this community for about 25 years. And what's happened to me has happened to this community. Between the EPA, ARCO, the state of Montana, all the other, whoever else you want to add, you've lulled this community to sleep. You've done nothing to protect us. You've done nothing but kill the messengers. And I've been involved in that. I joined with Fritz Daly and Sister Mary Jo for the cleanup of Silver Bow Creek. We won a lawsuit where we proved that Silver Bow Creek is a waterway of the state, as claimed by the state to the federal government a long time ago. And you completely ignore that. Go right by it, ignore it. Then you turn around and get reports from the college of people finding information about health issues. You kill the messengers. And if the EPA has something to do with that, you look at the article that Chris talked about. I will tell you right now, I have no respect for the EPA. I cannot believe you're going to do what's right by us. I've had Nakia on my show, asked him why he doesn't live in Butte. Comes to find out his family doesn't want to live here. They don't want to put themselves in a health hazard. Then you find out he's talking to all these, yeah, because you're up to Helena, you're coastal people. We tried to get him back on. We can't get permission to come in and be on and talk to the people of Butte. So you lulled us to sleep with all these studies, all these committees that nobody knows anything about. All this information is supposed to be coming out through CTEC. I run a talk show. CTEC can be on it every month, just like the chief executive, but they don't come. You've lulled us to sleep and you killed the messenger. And if the EPA wants to get this thing back on track, make the changes, replace the people that are here, bring in new people with new ideas, or at least that will come in with a new look at what's going on and not be partners with the criminals that have vandalized this community. That's my thought. That's what I get from the people that call on my show. That's what I say on my show because that's what I hear and see. You killed the messenger. The words that were said about Fritz and I and a sister, a nun, in Helena, that was shared in those meetings, in your closed door meetings. People that have been there too long. You forgot what you're there for. And that's to protect this community, to return this community to what it deserves. And you're not doing it. And you've lost the respect and you've lost the community because you've lulled us to sleep with all the stupidity for 40 plus years. Stop it, finish it, take control of it. You're the EPA, you're in control. Please do something to this community gets back on track. Thank you.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to say?
I do want to sort of like to see Barbara. I know you had your hand raised.
Yeah, Barbara, can you unmute?
I'm
buddy?
on the phone.
Okay, great, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Barbara Miller. I'm with Habitat for Humanity of Southwest Montana. This is our 30th year of operation here in Butte. During the entire time, I have been privy to the original test data that NCAT did in 1982 of the entire valley and many buildings uptown. Those buildings had the chemical signature of the Anaconda smelter. We don't understand why that chemistry is not a driver in the cleanup here in Butte, as well as Anaconda, because it has high arsenic, lead, and they're bound together. So if you don't lower the lead level, you can never get the arsenic down. The whole process has lost the citizens' trust. And we haven't been able to get any motion towards the simple solution is to have a big open cleanup, not one that's behind closed doors and that no one understands. And in the meantime, there's a lot of health and really unfortunate suffering that's going on because people don't know how to avoid the very obvious greasy black pollution that came from the Anaconda smelter all the way over to here. And it's not just what's in the soil. So we don't accept that there's some sort of magic, what do you call it, level that is in the dirt that is not they said it's not bioavailable. Well, when the minute we came and started working on rehabs, we found so much of this soil and dust in the buildings that we had it tested, and it is the chemical signature of the Anaconda smelter. So we just don't think that the science is correct on the overall action levels for that reason alone. But the simple answer is to go ahead and drop it to 400 and drop it to whatever CDC says the next level is. But right now, we can't ever trust that it will be clean. And what's happened in the meantime has just been heartbreaking. So, you know, we have asked our public officials to please go to EPA. Please, when we brought our information, we did a health survey in 2004, 2005, and we brought it to EPA. We gave it to ARCO. They've all had it. And the representative from EPA at that time, at that meeting, came running after us saying we were going to destroy the town by talking about this stuff. And I just never have agreed with that. I think we save the town by having an open cleanup that the town deserves. So thank you for the opportunity to say it again.
All right, thank you. All right, we have someone in the back here.
My name is Don Patrice. I'm just a citizen in town that have lived here for 68 years. I have 2 children. I have 3 grandchildren. 2 years ago, we signed a consent decree. These meetings are continuing. Is the consent decree even worthwhile having? I thought the consent decree told us what our plan is. But Chris said it is not. But why are we still having meetings if we have a consent decree?
Thanks for muted.
But my concern is I have not seen that today, listening to the friends that I've had that have followed this, but just me as a citizen. How do I tell my grandchildren they're going to have a community that I lived in? You cannot tell me right now that I can honestly look them in the eye, because I know you cannot look them in the eye and tell them they're going to live in a community that I love forever. We got a consent decree. What is it good for? If it isn't any good, then let's throw the damn thing out and start all over again. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. In the back here.
Now, my name is Ron DiFrancesco. My father was Dominic DiFrancesco. And I'd like to inform everybody at this meeting that my family business, due to a slag pile in Anaconda, I want to set the record straight, let people know some truth what happened. First of all, it came up, they said slag accelerated. All this stuff about lead and arsenic in the slag, which is a complete and total lie, because we've been selling it, we were the ones that developed it from day one, and it's all, any type of arsenic or lead, if it were to be inside, I have an MSD if there was any contaminants in it, it was sealed inside the matrix of my product, which we developed. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that as far as the consent decree, I've been following this for a long time, all of this stuff. People said, there is no such thing as really a consent decree, because the judges and all the paperwork have been studying all that stuff. And I have all ARCO's supposed records from being sued for since we started our business. But anyways, the thing is that the consent decree is not signed by any judge that has the affidavit of oath, so it's fake. And I'd just like to say here's a family that's trying to give jobs to the community and develop, do something good for all people in the community and to prosper the whole community. And all we did is get sued with frivolous lawsuit after frivolous lawsuit after frivolous lawsuit. We don't want to develop everything, did it all, yet we are slammed according to EPA, ARCO, so-called ARCO, because I asked about ARCO quite a bit, and the EPA and Anaconda-Dulles County. So I want people to know the real truth is that my family is the one that developed that slag pile. Next thing you know, we're slammed out of business, and our plant's been completely destroyed, and it goes on and on and on. But I wanted all you people to know the real truth of what happened behind it. It kind of was just covered up. We spent $1 million on lawyers that never did not one thing for us. Say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. No, it's nothing about it. It is a conspiracy because not one lawyer did anything for my family besides slam us. But anyways, I had to mention that today because what I'm hearing here, a lot of people are thinking, well, nothing's happening. Well, I tell you, a lot of things happened to my family that were completely unjust, unfair, and ridiculous. And I just want to make sure that everybody heard my story, because I don't think many people really know about it. It's kind of covered over, and they bring up U.S. Minerals and Black Diamond. They were our customers. So how do you have a family that developed a whole product and did everything they did, and the next thing you know, their customers own their business or take it over? That's what happens. But I had to mention that today because I'm hearing all these things, different things that people are complaining about. But like I said, I'm fighting this. I have every document they can ever imagine. It's not over for me. And I'm not going to stop. I'm the type of person that believes you fight till the end, you know what I mean, for what's right. And what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. That's what my father always said. You're right, just don't give up. But anyways, also the thing of it is, the slag was delisted. Never told my family this, but I already knew it was delisted anyway, because how can you sell a product if there's arsenic in it in the first place? You know, if there's something wrong with the product, how do you sell it for so many years? Answer that question. And then, how does the EPA determine if a product is safe or not? No, that's OSHA's department. And we had nothing to do with the EPA. Should never have been on that hill, have no business being on the slag pile at all. Because they don't determine if a product is safe. It's OSHA. We're always under OSHA. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, EPA's up there, you know, telling us what to do and what not to do. So, anyways, I have to let this out because, you know, I've been fighting this for 40 years, just about, you know, and it's a lot of things have happened. I want to go on everything because I want to know. There's so much to tell about. So many things that happen. It's so unjust. It's ridiculous. But I'll just mention this. The latest thing is now we have a truck scale there, and I get called up, but supposedly, I don't think it's even the CEO of Anaconda telling me, hey, you better get your scale out. This is how he talked to me. You better get that scale out of there, $80,000, $100,000 scale. If you don't get it out of there, you know, we're gonna throw it down. Well, hey, you know, it takes a little time to, you know, get things together. First of all, my house, I didn't tell this at the time, but I'll just tell you a little bit of my story. It's gotten flooded, so I'm living in my house right now. But anyways, you know, I need to get some things together so I can rent a crane and do what I gotta do to bring it to the arbor plant. We own most of the whole arbor plant. Last time I went to meeting over there, they said, you own the whole arbor plant. Well, it must be, but we never got a dime for the rental and anything else that the buildings they got, not a penny. But anyways, the thing of it is that I wanna get that scale out of there and I'll take care of it. But I'm just trying to let some people know how we've been treated for the whole time, like garbage and trash and like criminals. And we were law-abiding citizens, completely legitimate, and just trying to help and benefit the community. And this is how we've been treated. So,
Thanks.
Yeah, I want to just take a couple minutes. So I know we're like 10 minutes past 7, and I just want to take a couple minutes to recap some of the things that I've heard from you all just tonight. I'll say I don't know that I have heard a lot about the community involvement piece in terms of the materials or the meetings that you all want. But I do know, and it's been very clear, that you guys want us to address the action levels. And I think Casey addressed that in her comments, that there are conversations happening, and we hope to have more to answer that by the end of the summer. I've heard that it's been too long. I heard that you want us to look into West Side soils, and you want us to share more details into that. You mentioned that there's a lack of arsenic data. and you want us to look into that. You want us to also give you an update on what's happened with some lead testing on children. The last data was 2017. You want to know where the funding's happening, and how everything is being funded, and you want us to be more transparent about that.
Who's getting paid?
Exactly. So I've got all those things down. I also, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that's been happening with our lab as it relates to evaluating some of the health concerns that we heard in March. So I think we'll move to that, but I just want you to also come back to, we're going to have another chance for community discussion. Think more too, if there's ways that we can provide more transparency, if we can open up some of these meetings, if there's more materials, we really want to hear from you all on that part too. So with that,
Taylor, when you've got gray dirt.
we've got some more great stuff coming with gray dirt too after Wendy
Well, I
talks.
mean,
We're
when you
gonna
gave
touch.
your summary, it wasn't in there.
Correct, yep, so I've got yours, you said gray dirt and action levels in view, so thanks for that, Dr. A. So Wendy?
We do have a hand raised.
What's this?
So, real quick, Wendy
I'm just
O'Brien,
gonna talk about the evaluation of the view health concerns
Yep.
that we heard in
Are
March.
you done with the comments? Because I just made it ask a question, I had some comments.
We're gonna have more comments in just about 10 minutes,
Okay, thank you.
not even that.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next
Yep,
slide,
we'll
Melissa.
go to the- yep, all right. So, I'd like to introduce Wendy O'Brien. She's gonna talk about the evaluation of health concerns in Butte. Wendy is the Deputy Director of Laboratory Services and Applied Sciences Division for EPA Region 8. We're glad that you're here with us. It's all yours, Wendy. You wanna take-
Yeah, probably. Hopefully I don't trip, but- Okay, hi everyone. Sometimes I have one of those voices that's better served as an opera singer. So I'm gonna try, if I'm too loud, just make a motion down, bring it down a little bit. So, as Dana said, I'm Dr. Wendy
Don't stand in
O'Brien.
front of your speaker. Move over about 2 feet. You're getting echoes. 2 feet that way.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay. So I'm Dr. Wendy O'Brien. Please call me Wendy. I'm a veterinarian and a toxicologist. I've worked in EPA Region 8 for about 21 years. The first 18 of those, I was a toxicologist that supported a variety of programs in Region 8, including Superfund. The last 3 years, I moved into management and I'm now Deputy Director of the Lab Services and Applied Science Division in Region 8. That's a long name. We include our laboratory, but we're also the division where the toxicologists, the hydrogeologists, the QA group is housed. So it's a large group of scientists. So let's see. I'm here tonight to listen to you and to gather input about your questions and concerns related to health concerns in the Butte community. Over the past several months, we've been having conversations with folks in Butte regarding their health-related concerns. At the end of March, my boss and my boss is the director of the Lab Services and Applied Science Division. She and I and other senior leaders in Region 8 met with representatives from Butte, Silver Bow City and County to hear from them about their questions and concerns surrounding health issues in Butte. Last week, in addition, several of the Butte site team members met with Butte, Silver Bow City and County to continue those discussions. And tonight, I'm here to hear from you about what your concerns and questions are related to health issues in the Butte community. EPA wants to make sure that we're gathering information that's fully representative of the questions and concerns among all of the Butte community. We plan to use the information that we gathered from previous discussions and this tonight to help formulate a plan moving forward to address your concerns. As we continue to gather information about health concerns, we are compiling the information and reviewing it, having discussions about it, and we've grouped it into these 3 categories that you can see here. So the first one has to do with reviewing underlying assumptions of Butte remedial action. This ties into a number of concerns that I've heard expressed here tonight about the cleanup levels. So we've heard concerns, for instance, about the basis of the underlying assumptions used in the IEUBK model for determining the cleanup levels. for instance, default values versus site-specific values. We are reviewing that information in great depth, not only for Butte, but also for Anaconda, to understand it, to identify any potential data gaps, and then we will report back to you on that. As you can imagine, so I'm new to the site, I don't have any history. It's taking me a little bit of time to get up to speed. So thank you for your patience as we work to understand, as I work to understand those documents very thoroughly. And then we will, I look forward to coming back at some future time and having further discussions with you on that. In the second bullet here, we've also heard that there's a need for different types of health studies in the Butte community that would help the community and help us evaluate the effectiveness of the remedy. I've already heard some of those today, some additional ones. One that we have heard from previous conversations was perhaps identifying different populations of interest that we should look at. Thinking about the arsenic comment by Dr. Cornell. So that I have notes and will continue to take notes. And the last bullet here that I just want to mention is we've also heard about the need for independent review of remedial actions that have been implemented in Butte in terms of the health protectiveness of those remedial actions. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and I'd like to turn it over to all of you to relay to me so that I can take back and reflect on them and work with the team in the Denver office and here in the Helena office to help figure out and formulate our plan forward for helping address your concerns related to health issues.
So with this, we have the same format as before. Dave, if you want to advance to the next slide, we have the same kind of 3-minute timer. I will say a lot of the last section, you guys gave a lot of feedback on kind of these exact topics and not much feedback on the community involvement side, which is totally fine. But feel free then to weigh in now if you have more thoughts on community involvement. We're here to listen to that. But also if you have comments on what Wendy just presented, we're here to hear that as well.
I'm just curious, when you talk about independent scientific review of different medical levels, when you say these independent scientific studies, are they done independent and funded differently than the EPA? Or are you hiring and you are their feed bill, you are their paycheck? Who is doing these studies? Is it independent like this article I just wrote? Or is it going to be funded by the EPA? Maybe ARCO, maybe BP, maybe MR, I don't know. Where does that funding come from?
Chris, JPS.
I asked him.
But I want to address just one thing. That was one of the things I brought to the EPA, and I said, one of the things that we've got to gain the trust back to the community, and one of the aspects that was brought to me many times is that, all right, who's funding the study, and if they're funding it, then is it valid, right? So that was one of the very first things I brought to the EPA was we need to have an independent study. Now, that may mean that it gets funded by money from the settling defendants, but totally independent of those settling defendants. Okay, so that way it doesn't put the company, or it doesn't put the community on the hook, doesn't do, those things. So as we're talking about that, a lot of the things that are talked about here, I have the same concerns. Why are we looking at bioavailability of hard rock mining when we know there was smelting? I watched a company video just the other day of Anaconda Company, I think it was 2 years before Atlantic Richfield bought the company, and it talked about how the smelting created the air to be so thick that the streetlights had to be on, right? So we have smelting here. Why is it different? And so those are the questions that we've been asking. I can tell you that our Superfund division and everybody are asking these questions. Why? Why is it the way it is? Why did it come to this agreement? But to talk about that was one of the very first things we talked about is the health studies, and to make sure that we are validating instead of discrediting, that we're validating what the health study is for our community. So I want you to know that this isn't going on deaf ears in our local government. We're fighting for this, and we want to work with all of the departments and all the different entities that we go along here. And I understand the distrust. I understand it, but we have to work together to get to an end of the means. When I listened to Moose just now talking about why do we even have a consent decree, and we are going to get there. That's hard part, because if we start going backwards too, then there's going to cause us to pause a little bit more. So people want us to be moving, but yet we've got to make sure that we're getting the appropriate cleanup that Fritz is talking about, that we need the best for our kids. And most of us may not see this in our lifetimes. I hate to say that, to get to the end where we're going to be at Westside Soils, where we're going to be doing all those other things. But it is not falling on deaf ears about what we need to fight for Butte Silver Bowl. To speak directly to that, yeah, we're asking for independent studies on health.
Point, Mr. Chairman, I totally agree. JP, follow up, not question to you.
Sure.
Back to here. Man, are these funds going to be independent without any manipulation from above, whether it's done at tech? Because obviously, JP, there's been some mishandlings here. And it's obvious if somebody's willing to put it in print against the EPA, going up and fronting for possibly ARCO, Atlantic Richfield, and those that have spoke against it have paid the price for it. And guess what? I have no doubt whatsoever that I'll pay the price for this too. If it's not here, it's other things that I do in this community. And when they do, I'm gonna take it personal. Just to let you know that, not you, but everyone else sitting at this table. Butte Silver Bowl, the commissioners, you have people that you had to believe after looking at this and negotiating this for 30 years. You had to believe someone. The only thing that I'm questioning is the information that they gave you and the approach that they are taking. Is it honest? And that's what I question. I don't question your integrity. I don't question our councilman. I don't think you've been on any fun golf tournaments or fishing junkets or fun things like that, like we read about in the paper. But where has this all gone sideways?
Did you have anything else to add?
Sure, I'll just, yeah.
And Dr. Ray is next.
Sure, real quick, I'll say, we don't have we're still trying to understand what studies would answer questions that the community has. So we don't have anything planned. Definitely understand and hear you tonight that there is a significant trust issue. And we are exploring options on how to provide some kind of independent review, validation of those studies. So I don't have a direct answer for you yet, but I'm aware of the trust issue and the need for some sort of independent oversight, independent validation.
Thank you, man.
Okay, Dr. Ray.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm confused now. The community has been assured that the cleanup that's being undertaken by EPA, DEQ, paid for by Atlantic Richfield, has been successful, that human health has been protected, that it's meeting its obligation to remediate sites that pose a threat to human health and the environment. And we have been assured that things are going well, given the exigencies that are faced. Now I'm wondering, one other thing too, we're far along in the process. CDs have been signed. Really, it's only Westside Soils that's in the early stages now. We're a long way down the road in decision making. And to be blunt, after listening to your presentation, I'm beginning to wonder, does EPA make that statement today that yes, the cleanup has been successful, human health has been protected, and the Butte citizens can rest assured that Superfund has made Butte a safer place? Is that true, or is everything where we have to do more studies to find out what was going on? And I guess it's a little frustrating or confusing to me. When are all these going to end and some definitive statements going to be made? I thought we pretty much knew with the health studies under the consent decree and the UAO and so forth, that things were going along pretty well. Is that not the case? And we're back at square one, where we got to figure out whether this thing is successful. I'm not saying this accusatorily, I'm just now totally confused that what I thought I knew doesn't exist. The second thing, what's the timeline for all of this? Ms. Becker announced at her last meeting about an independent health study going to be conducted in Butte. There's a mention. When are these going to be done? When are results going to be collected and publicized? Because health studies take a while. It could take years depending on where things are going. So I guess I'm frustrated and confused. Is EPA now saying we don't know if the cleanup has been effective and we've got to do more studies to find that out? It's a little late if that's the case. The second thing is, if you're going to do more studies, that's fine. When will they be done? What's the timeline? What will they cover? Who will be doing it? Who will be involved? This has been going on for a long time, and as I said, decisions have been made. I thought we had more information or more data about the successfulness of the Superfund program than you seem to indicate now, that what we've got to do all these additional studies to get additional information to answer the question, is Superfund working? Is it effective? Is human health being protected? I mean, I'm confused and frustrated because some of what you seem to be saying is, we don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Well, you know, this is a hell of a long time to still be maybe it's working. That may not be what you're saying, but it confused me. And if we're going to have these new studies, they shouldn't be completed in the fullness of time. When are they going to be done, and so forth?
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Dan, we do have a hand online from Michelle Shea.
Okay, Michelle Shea, unmute your mic, please.
Good evening, everyone. You know, being a member of the local government and you know, lots of government agencies involved here, nobody's a stranger to checks and balances. It's kind of what we do in the government, as serve as checks and balances on one another. And I believe that the agencies involved have grown so close that they're unable to serve as checks and balances to one another. Something that is legitimate will stand up to scrutiny from people who disagree with it. And so in order to bring back the trust, the agencies, the EPA, they need to accept the scrutiny. They need to listen to the scrutiny. They need to discuss it. We need independent, unbiased review. I love what Chief Executive Gallagher is saying. We've had conversations about this. We need a TSDR to do a human health risk assessment. And the people have a right, and the people want their environment as clean as is possible, not as clean as is convenient. The EPA, the local government, we are representatives of the public. The EPA regulates industry. The EPA needs to protect the public. And that's what we're all interested in. And we need to find a way to get there and get there right and get there in a way that everything can be trusted. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We got more questions right back in the corner.
Thank you, Jim Fisher, Youth Sub-Commissioner, District 6. You know, we've seen a lot of reviews and studies, you know, and we've been through these for a long time. You know, there's a quote that says, you know, it goes something like, you know, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you get the same results. That's called insanity. And we keep doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results. We're here today talking about things that Fritz and Ron and them talked about 15, 20 years ago. I mean, when is this reviews and studies and everything come to an end and we start taking action? That's what I repeated last time. I don't understand these meetings. They go and we're going to review, we're going to study. I mean, when are the review and study going to end and we start doing something? Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up and echo what Dr. Ray just said about the timeline. Couple meetings ago, when Casey Becker was here in Butte, and Nakia, to you, it was discussed that the design of the CD and getting the design work done was going to likely take, and correct me if I'm wrong, to take a decade. So I think the community needs to find out what that timeline looks like, what the timeline could possibly look like with the advent of tonight's meeting and all of the components therein. If you can address that, I don't know.
Yeah, I can give an estimate. There's a lot of unknowns, Cindy, right? I mean, it's complicated. And we gotta base our decisions off of that, science. I mean, Chris, I love everybody's passion. And, you know, I have the same passion.
Nikki,
I have the same
who's
passion.
science? Who's science? Who's science? Who's covering, who's paying for it?
The facts and the data. Science is based off of data. So I'm talking about the facts. So 2029, the corridor projects. But I want to emphasize that it's not that work isn't being done. Schools, parks, playgrounds, daycares, residential properties. You know, I am very passionate. I work day and night. I'm down here 2, 3, 4 times a week till 10, 11 o'clock at night. I am a public servant. I am here for you. 33 out of the 53 properties in West Side Soils, me and Charlie Partridge called every single one that had a groundwater sample. We're in the middle of an RIFS, okay? We don't know if it's from historic mine waste. We don't know if it's because Butte is the richest hill on earth, on the Boulder Baffling. We don't know that yet. So we don't have any enforcement authority. But you know what we do? We make the calls, we send the letters, we make sure we're in close contact with them. Every single one of them calls, everyone had a filter system on their tap. They are aware of what's going on, what is contaminated. And we are gonna stick close, and I will give you updates. Seth, I'm sorry I missed the last Board of Health meeting. I'll be at the next one. 2029 corridor projects, there's a ton of work going on right now.
I think, Cindy, to your point though, some more transparency on what that timeline could look like and laying that out. I think that we've heard that a couple times tonight, and I think we can, again, as we're bringing in these resources to support the web and support more community involvement, we can lay out a more increased transparency on what those timelines would look like.
Dr. Cornell.
Yes, I just want to follow up on what Nikia said about the West Side Soils. So the reason that EPA called the homeowners is because the Board of Health insisted that they do that. Prior to the EPA meeting with the Board of Health, they were just sending out raw data. No accompanying public health information, nothing about this is what the information means, nothing about this is how you mitigate the risk. That was the Board of Health that said, you need to call these people. That was the Board of Health that said, you need to send out this information. So it's not as though EPA is taking the lead on this. They're following the Board of Health. It should be the vice versa. You're a big federal agency with lots of resources. It shouldn't take a volunteer board of citizens to tell you how to do your job. And as far as the amount of folks that you've tested, that's a small percentage of folks within the WISC boundaries. It doesn't matter if it's historic mining or background levels. The health risks are the same for those metals. And if the other people that you haven't tested don't know about it, and their kids are drinking water that could potentially be toxic, neurotoxins, toxins for the entire body. People don't have symptoms from it. They won't know that they're poisoned. So you know, this EPA on their high horse, say we called these people. That was because the Board of Health called you in and said you need to do this. It wasn't because you took the lead on this. So I just want to clarify that.
And that's the way coordination should work. Thank you, Seth.
All right, Evan.
I want to mention, I'm going to comment on something related to this subject. I have some more things to say later. But when you talk about this kind of cleanup and toxicology, you know, you're operating with baseline data and also bad assumptions. and you have operated under the wrong assumptions for a long time. We still hear that you didn't have smelting. BS. Read a history book. You know, Chris was talking, Chris is pretty good, he'll give you some lessons. You know, the open roasting was so bad that people were dying on the streets of Butte. Okay, there wasn't even any lid on it that would shoot a flue up and get it higher up. It was killing people in Butte. Do you think anybody came along and cleaned up that mess? Or did we just pile more mess on top of it? How about all the smelters along the creek? What was the Parrot? What is the Butte Reduction Works? What about the Bell? I give you a few more. This smelting went on and on and on. You know, and yet the agency operates in conjunction with ARCO, saying there wasn't smelting in Butte. That's a premise upon which this work is being done. It's an erroneous premise, and you better start facing the music on that and admit that you're wrong. Be glad to provide you some history books.
Yeah, let me just make one little comment in regard to what Nakia said, is that there's still a lot of unknowns. I mean, I find it hard to believe, as I said in the opening comments that I made, I've been doing this for 40 years. So most of you maybe from EPA don't even know this, but Silver Bow Creek has been a Superfund site since 1982. 1982. We're number 20 on the list of Superfund sites, the national priority list of Superfund sites. We're number 20. And we don't have a clean creek. And it doesn't sound like we're ever going to get a clean creek. Listen to this, you know. But yes, there are a lot of unknowns. But the reality is there are a lot of knowns. There's a lot of knowns that the EPA has ignored. And why they've ignored them, I don't have any idea. But yes, the community has lost trust in the EPA. Yes, they have lost trust. They've lost a lot of trust. And where do you go from here? You know, where do you go from here? I don't know where you go from here. You know, I do know that we need a good cleanup. We've not received that. It's wrong what the EPA has done to this community. This community deserves so much better than what you guys have done to us. And if you listen to the people here tonight, the people are frustrated. They're frustrated. And why wouldn't you be frustrated? Like Moose said, it's been 2 years since the CD got signed. 2 years. 5 years since the agreement in principle. You guys may not even know what the agreement in principle is. I do. The agreement in principle is what does each agency and what does each group, like Butte Silver Bow, do in a consent decree. That's what the agreement in principle says. That's 5 years ago. Yet, as I said, you know, we haven't moved one shovel full of dirt, except for what the Natural Resources Damage Program did with money that should be used now to restore the community if we had a responsible cleanup, which we have not done. They had to use that money, which needed to be done, to clean the creek. We're at the headwaters of the Clark Fork and Columbia Rivers. We're at the headwaters. That's where Butte Silver Bow is located. That's where it is. When you think about this, and I'll just close with this. You think about this. The EPA, to this date, to this very friggin' date, does not believe that we needed to remove the Parrot tailings. I'll show them a picture. Put me in charge of the EPA, Dana. Casey, put me in charge. I'll get the goddamn thing done. I'll guarantee you. I'll get her done. I'll get her done right too. I guarantee it. Put me in charge. You know, and you'll get some action. You'll get some things done. I mean, who could believe after seeing the pictures of the Parrot tailings that they didn't have to be removed? Who could believe that? Who with any common sense could believe that? No one with any common sense could believe that. My God, you guys need to look at the pictures. Look at what's going on. Learn from what's going on. The Montana Bureau of Mines is about as reputable an organization as there is in the whole state of Montana, without question. They told you in 2006 what needed to be done. They've told you since then. You've known since then. You can't sit here and say you don't know what has to be done with Silverbow Creek. If you don't know what has to be done with Silverbow Creek, Casey, put me in charge. I know what needs to be done.
Thanks, Fritz.
Sorry to get so fired up, but you know, enough's enough, really, enough's enough. I think the community has spoken to you tonight. There's probably only 10 or 12 people in this room who aren't directly involved in getting money from the situation. There's probably only, like me, I've been involved for 40 years. I've not received one penny ever. I don't want to receive one penny. I just care about my town. I care about my town. What you guys are doing my town ain't right. It ain't right. And you should stop, and we should stop and start doing what's right for this community. And I'll probably never come to another one of these meetings again. Why would I come here? Why would I come here? My God's sake, why would Fritz Daly come to another one of these stupid meetings? Unless you're gonna do something. Unless you're gonna do something. That's the facts. That's the way it is. Again, sorry to be so passionate, sorry to get so fired up. You know, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of fighting this thing. I'm 77 years old. I'm gonna be out watching the airplanes come in here pretty quick. That's what I'm gonna be doing, you know? Every day I'm gonna be out watching airplanes. Well, you know, I'd like to have this place cleaned up. That's what I'd like to see. And JP, you're exactly right about it. We do need an independent. We do need an independent health study. But we need an independent health study of everything else that's been done. The CD and the rest of it. We need a reevaluation of this whole thing because the EPA has failed this community badly.
Chris,
Again,
do we have
my
anyone-
time's up, I can see that.
Yeah, thanks. Do we have anyone online with any questions? And we'll get right to you.
Not that I can see right now.
Okay, just want to make sure, we're trying to do a hybrid, so we have to try to go back and forth, so thanks.
I just want to take 30 seconds and amplify something Fritz said. He mentioned the agreement in principle. At our most recent CTEC meeting, one of our CTEC board member asked for a copy of the agreement in principle. Nakia told him it was still behind the curtain. It's still private. It could not be seen. That is BS. That curtain should be lifted completely, and I'd like to just right now formally request that EPA join with Butte Silverbow and the citizens of Butte in getting the curtain lifted, and that's the first thing. Get the agreement in principle out instead of hiding behind, you know, this secrecy crap we had to deal with for 20 years.
And I just want to make a quick announcement. Casey Becker had to leave, but she appreciates all her comments tonight.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I don't left on the agenda, Taylor.
Say that again, Casey, sorry?
Was there anything left on the agenda?
We have you know, if folks have I know a couple folks have already spoken, we were gonna have a chance for CTEC to give some updates and VSB to give some updates, and then we'll close out.
Okay, yeah, I am leaving. I appreciate and hear everything everyone's saying. I take all of your comments very, very seriously. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Casey.
Dr. Ray.
This is gonna take 15 seconds. I'd like to ask the folks from EPA, Region 8, do you think the cleanup that has occurred in Butte regarding Superfund so far has been effective in protecting human health and the environment from the threats of past mining activity? Simple question, yes or no?
I think, Dr. Ray, what we have heard is that you.
No, not what you've heard. What does Region 8 has a mine? What does Region 8 think? I know, I mean, I understand Nakia. Nakia gave some things that I think have gone well, but I see a disconnect between the office in Denver, Region 8, and what's going on the ground here. Does Region 8 in Denver have an opinion as to the efficaciousness of the cleanup that has occurred in Butte so far?
Jump in here. Ben Bielenberg, Superfund Acting Director. There's never a yes or no, it seems like.
Well,
But
qualify,
I
make
understand
it a
what you're saying,
gray
yes.
answer.
Well, as we've mentioned in all of our, in recent press releases, what we do at a certain point moving forward is with the best data, the best science, the best policy we have. We're always evaluating, reevaluating. To Casey's point, the agency's undergoing a review of the lead policy. That's significant. And anybody who's been involved in policies through government review know those take a long time. Unfortunately, this one's taking longer, I think, than anybody wants. And those types of policy changes could have a significant impact or any impact on where we proceed. So I'd say the work we've done, Nakia listed off a lot of significant activities and efforts. I forget how many properties you mentioned. But that doesn't mean that what we're gonna do looking forward to Wendy's point, making sure that the next steps are more protective if they have to be, and making sure that they'll be transparent and we'll get the collaboration of our partners, because it's not just EPA running the cleanup. There's a lot of parts and parcels to this. A lot of people have to be involved.
But does EPA have an opinion about the efficaciousness of what's
I
been
think what
done
we've
so
done
far?
to date is what we should be doing, according to the consent decree, and according to the policies we have in hand and the science. Do we need to constantly review it? I think that's Wendy's point, to make sure that everyone is comfortable with it. And if they're not, why? Investigate it, look into it, get more data. And if we have to go back and make adjustments, we will do that as well.
Do you think it has been effective so far?
I think the data we have says so, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to go back and look. I know you're looking for a yes or no, Dr.
Well,
I
given the discussion tonight, I would accept a gray answer.
Yeah.
But.
I don't like the word gray anymore. I'm not using that term. Vocabularies for on-site material, right, Nakia? He's trained me, but I hear you, and I hear what everyone's saying, but, the timelines associated with this project are very intense, and frustrating for a lot of folks. I get that. But I do think work has been done. I think good work has been done.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we're near the end. It doesn't mean we won't go back and look and make sure that what we did doesn't need to be, corrected or adjusted or whatever it might be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ben. I know we have a couple of presentations we want to get through, and
I'd like to make a point, please.
Go ahead.
We've got an hour and 45 minutes, and we've avoided the elephant in the room, which is the proposed use of dirty dirt instead of clean fill. We haven't addressed it at all, other than a couple of random comments. Okay, it's a crazy idea. I've got plenty to say about that. There's some things that are coming down the pike here. I was told by Nakia when I asked about the legal analysis of whether or not EPA is in bed with ARCO and advancing the premise that the change in the statement of work on this stuff is not a change in the CD and does not require a signature. It can be just done by EPA at its own volition. Natural Resource Damage Program disagrees with that. I happen to agree with them. And I asked about when are we going to address this legal issue, and I was told that it would be addressed when they went to the technical meeting, because it's in the red line letter. And the red line letter is going to be addressed in a technical meeting of a bunch of technical people, and we're going to address the threshold legal issue that has to be addressed. So I suggest that that not be addressed until the broader community is able to address it. That threshold issue of the legal side of this thing. There's plans to try to advance some of this stuff moving forward. Again, the broader community is not engaged. This stuff goes and it happens, and guess what? We get pushed into a corner. I don't want to be pushed into a corner that says we're going to take the corridor in the center of Butte and put dirty dirt in where we should put in clean fill.
I think, do you want us to talk, Ben, do you want to jump in just to talk a little bit about the on-site material?
Just a minute. And let me just say, I want to recommend a solution to that. It's very straightforward. Don't do it. The history of engineered solutions that will go in perpetuity, as this is supposed to do. The in perpetuity solutions always eventually fail. And when they fail, that dirty dirt will be an impact on future generations of people in Butte. And the only solution, don't put it in there. So when the failure occurs, at least the fill is clean. How many Lord Zortman Landusky's does Montana need to have? How many German gulches do we need to have? How many Mike Horse mines do we have to have? They all fail. So don't do it. That's the solution. And we need a broader discussion with the community about this before it's swept under the rug or under the door, under some technical evaluation that says, we don't have to get the agreement of the local government to do this. Well, I think we damn well do. They're a signator. And you're changing the CD by changing what's in the CD.
Ben, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I would just add, Nikia's gonna mention a couple of things. I think we still have a portion of that. Okay. We're committed to not doing what you just said in terms of brushing anything under the rug or not involving people about where and how those decisions are made. I think what Nikia's point, correct me if I'm wrong, Nikia, was about the venue to hash out a lot of the details and understand the red lines and understand the comments and understand the disagreements of all the partners, of all the folks on the technical meeting, and then bring that back to a group that was kind of the premise of this session, was to find out how to engage with folks on those topics, how to engage with folks on technical conversations that the stakeholders have engaged on, bring it to the group for input and discussion, not have a decision made in those sessions. So if we make that commitment, I would speak for the whole technical work group that nothing's going to proceed without more discussion, more transparency with the community.
Well, let me say, the list of people participating in that meeting that Nikia sent to me is not full of lawyers. It's not, I'm saying the last item in the red line letter is a legal positioning. Okay, and it's going to a group of people who are all about the environmental this and that and technical evaluations of this and that. And that's the list. There it is right there.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I think I'm on that.
And they're going to be the ones that come back and tell us, well, here's what we resolved, and here's what we think.
And that's what I'm saying. We commit that that's not going to be maybe what we think, but maybe this is not the decision. This is not the resolution. And we want to come back to these groups, to the right venues, whatever that might be, to ask for the input and say, do you agree? What are your thoughts? What else can we do? What are we missing? Help us understand this more clearly. I think you articulated your point, which is don't do it, understood. But, I think that the technical group with attorneys, I believe there are attorneys involved in some of those, will, and that may not be the full list of folks, but to talk through it, to engage on topics, and then bring it to a broader technical group. I think Taylor, one of the slides talked about what type of venue. Could be this, maybe we don't need another meeting, it could just be one of the monthlies, and we come back and give you a detailed report out. That's the commitment, because I forget who said it, I know there are a lot of concerns about things being done behind closed doors, behind, the veil of confidentiality. We're past that. We commit to that, and making sure that that information is brought here and shared. If that doesn't happen, so please let us know. Let me know, let KC know, because we'll change that.
Just to follow up, Ben, is there a precedent for using this gray dirt? I've never heard the term before, but is there another Superfund site around the country, or are you going to create a precedent or attempt to for Butte Silver Boat? Has anybody else used gray dirt?
So on-site material, right, is material that's, I'll let Nikia get into the details of it, and I'm sure there's folks who are a little more adept at the terminology. But yes, materials that is at a site can stay at a site. On-site remedies are a common method to cleaning up Superfund sites.
Was that used down in Missoula?
Which site in Missoula?
Oh.
It depends. It's part of the.
I mean,
it's
you
part of the
removed
analysis.
all the dirt in Missoula, did they replace it with dirty dirt there? I don't think so. Why, again, going back to Fritz's claim, why are we even talking about that? We're the first mile of this whole problem, and we're the last ones to be fixed. And we're still discussing it 2 years after the consent decree? Come on. You guys have enough brains in your rooms to figure out what the hell the damn solutions are. I gotta believe you have that capability. But why are we talking about using an archaic thought process in doing that? And again, I'll go back. Can you look at my grandchildren in the face and say you have a clean community? That is what you've got to bring up in your meetings too. I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be with Fritz. Okay? Watching airplanes come in. But my grandchildren have to live, or I hope, want to live here. But with a poor cleanup, you know where they're going? Out of town. You know what? And Fritz is right. 10 of us or whatever's in here, there's no other financial commitment other than our family. We deserve that.
We're gonna get kicked out of the online meeting here, so we need to try to wrap things up. Is what I'd like to say, and we'll get to questions in here afterwards, is I look out here and, you know, I hear everybody's stories. We all have our own story. My grandfather was a miner. He was from Walkerville. He was a hoist operator. He died in Butte. My dad was a miner as well. I lived here till I was 7 years old. I had an opportunity to serve in the U.S. military. I did for almost 29 years to serve everybody. I came here, I took this job because I wanted to keep serving, just like Nakia, just like JP, just like everybody else. And it's not us against you. It's not, it's us together. And I hear you and I feel it and my heart aches because I want to clean up for Butte too. I want the best. And it's not what people, you know, it's not like people are out to get anybody. It's so complex and so complicated. I thought I could come in and make a difference. I hardly even know anything in this job. I'm learning every day. And it's just so hard, but it's what I can tell you is the people that I work with, they have the biggest hearts and they care. With DEQ, DSB, Atlantic Richfield, I don't care. The people saying other people are in bed with other people, I don't know. Prove it. I don't know. Is what I do know is that the people that I work with care. And they're here for you, and I'm here for you. I don't plan on going anywhere unless I get fired now, so. I hope not. I needed to say that because when I look out here, I see defeat. I see defeat on the people of Butte, and I see defeat.
One last comment. When's the EPA gonna hold ARCO BP to the fire? When's ARCO BP and the EPA, when's EPA gonna do their job and tell ARCO BP to get in there and get it done? That's why we all think they're in bed together. It's been 35 years.
I know, and I can't say, it's all I can say is what's going on right now, from my perspective, is that people are trying to do the right thing.
So I just want to say thank you again. There are, these little, I know they're posted notes, there's cards here as well. But, you know, we talked a lot about some of the technical specifics of, you know, some of these design features that are going to happen. We still really want to know what forum works best. We want to come here and find ways to talk to you all about that. And so if you all have feedback, if this is the right forum to come in and do kind of what was happening maybe back in November and last year, we want to hear that. If you guys have a different forum, that would be helpful. If we want to send emails, whatever that looks like, you guys let us know. And we really appreciate you all coming out and talking to us and giving us all this feedback. And we look forward to coming back next time with more actions on what we're going to be able to do with EPA, with all of our partners. So thanks. Thanks, Dan.
All right, thanks. And Lisa, I'd like to thank you and Jim for letting us use the EOC and for the use of the OWL and helping us set up and staying here after work to help us facilitate this meeting. So I appreciate it. All right, everyone, thank you. Good night. Oh, we're done.
JP.